So you probably made a mistake. You probably spent your 60 on this. Maybe even this. God bless your soul. And if you bought this, I'm not even gonna hold you. Good choice. But that takes away from what I'm saying. You should have spent your money on this. Granblue Fantasy is a game that seamlessly came out of nowhere, but the real ones have been waiting for this for almost a decade. And for the most part, not only does it meet expectations, it kind of soars past them. Truly one of the best anime-inspired video games I've played in 2024. While it's not perfect, despite the game suffers from a very specific problem, and that's that nobody knows what this is. Granblue Fantasy is a wrong-letting franchise, and it's very niche outside of Japan. They've got fighting games out, gacha games out, but none of us here have heard of it, and so there's not a lot of cultural impact. People aren't as obsessed with this as they are other animes, is what I'm trying to say. But in terms of actually being a video game, Granblue takes me back to a time when what you got was what you played for, and the game was about gameplay. In terms of how it actually plays as a video game, Granblue Fantasy actually had me feeling nostalgic to older games, mainly because it's not a bloated, pointless open world. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely love open world games. They're one of my favorite genres of games, but the genre's kind of OD. Like, we have so many open world games, so this one kind of made me feel really good that I could just go through the levels. It was semi-linear. You kind of run around and collect chests, and there's like little mini challenges and stuff. But other than that, you just go through the level, complete the level, go to the next level. I feel like most of the days it's either like a movie game like from Sony, or some sort of multiplayer game, or an open world game. Also, I rarely ran into any glitches. I did crash on my PlayStation 4, but other than that, I haven't run into any glitches so far. I have heard of other certain characters being bugged or something online, but I haven't seen any of that myself, so appreciate that. But yeah, pretty much Granblue Fantasy is just a semi-linear, story-based campaign with huge emphasis on endgame grind and character building, and that's what you get with this game. So the story is really short. You start off in the middle of your journey. You're on this ship in the sky, get attacked by some random monsters. Blue-haired girl summons her tailed beast to destroy everything. The tailed beast starts acting up and attacking you guys, so you gotta put it in its place. She summons it back. She starts tripping. She faints. You jump off the ship to catch her, but somehow you're not hurt. You guys have this little like underwater bond scene. Wake up in a forest, find your way into a town, and the story begins. It's probably, like, as I said, the shortest JRPG I've ever played, which is good or bad depending on which type of player you are. You could probably get through this in like 6 to 10 hours, depending on how like hard you're going. There's so many games coming out these days that are, 1,000-hour investment games, 100-hour investment games, so it might be a nice change for you to have a quick little story mode. I've heard people call it the tutorial of the game, which is kind of true, because the real game really starts at the end game. But yeah, story definitely isn't the strongest part of this game. If you're a story-based gamer, it is high quality and presented well, but at the heart of it, it just feels extremely generic, like jumping into the 12th season of the most generic isekai. One thing I do like about the story is a lot of it is like told in the middle of the gameplay. A lot of modern games do something I hate, which is like take agency away from you in cutscenes, and then sometimes it feels like you're not playing a game, you're watching a movie, right? But I like how in this game, it just plays while you're fighting. For example, you're on your way to fight a primal beast and it just bodies some little goblins in front of you, and your teammates are all like, damn, that's crazy, and there's like wind gusting, and they're like talking about how ridiculous this whole situation is. But if that was Final Fantasy 16, that would have been like a whole ass 3 different cutscenes, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that story is told through gameplay rather than like cutscenes for the most part. And there's a lot of set pieces. Like, seriously though, leave it to Japanese people to find a way to put mechs and Gundams into a medieval fantasy world. Like, bro. Also, a lot of it, like the storytelling is told throughout the gameplay. Like, let's say if you're fighting an OP opponent that you can't win against, you won't just beat them and then it'll cut to a cutscene where you're losing. Like, they will actually just beat your ass, in the game. So I appreciate when developers attempt to tell story in a game. It doesn't hit that hard, but I like it. Granblue Fantasy feels like a seamless mix of every JRPG you've ever played. You'll find yourself familiar with certain mechanics of this game while completely fresh with others. Yeah, the game feels naturally inviting in that way. But rest assured, the main attraction is definitely its combat. Initial combat mechanics are seemingly kind of basic at first. You have like a basic attack, basic heavy attack, 4 skills, and an ultimate, a dodge, and a block button. When one person uses their ultimate, it'll like interrupt the boss fight. Everybody gets to get back, use their own ultimates. You combine it together, and this makes a super attack. And not gonna lie, this shit never gets old. I don't know how this is so satisfying, but it is. Feels absolutely broken in the best kind of way. But the real fun is in varieties of characters. So every single character has like a massive skill tree, attack and defense, and there's like a whole weapon skill tree, as well as different skills you get throughout the skill tree that you can equip on your character so they play differently. Kind of crazy how much diversity is in each character. They really treat each character as like their own thing. Very impressive, diverse everything is in here. Certain characters play completely different than other characters to the point that you start to feel like you're playing a different game altogether. For example, you have a main character, Gran, or Jita. I don't know how to say her name. We're just going to say Gran. He has a basic light attack and a heavy attack combo. A charge attack, he thinks he's Link from Legend of Zelda or something. But Gran also has this art systems where you increase the levels during combat. It'll show as like a little marker above your character. Then your skills just like get stronger like as you raise the arts levels. And then there's Lancelot who just mashes the light attack, and then you can finish it off with a triangle combo. Or you can press to any side and Lancelot will just dodge in that direction while attacking. And there's Zeta, whose heavy attack is a literal parry, and her light attacks go into like a dive attack where you have to time it to keep jumping on the monster. She's basically the insect glaive of like this game. But yeah, you keep tapping it to jump on this monster and timing it correctly to do like hella damage. Absolutely broken. Best way to play the game. All the Zeta mains, this is the superior way to play the game. But yeah, best character anyway. But you get the point. The combat is easy at the start, but it's difficult to like master your characters, and the replayability comes from learning or building a new character. And I often found like you might feel like a character is like lukewarm, or you just feel all right with that character. You might move on to another character and feel like that character is really fun. Then you try another character, realize that character is busted, and then it's just until you find that character that you just really love playing. So the way quests or missions work in this game after you beat the main game is pretty much you can either go to chapter select to redo some of the old stuff if you missed anything in the story, and then you'll have a bunch of different quests to do on your main hub page, and then once you finish all those, you'll get a rank up quest, and once you do that, rinse and repeat at a higher difficulty. So co-op for me was a mixed bag. I'm not at the end game yet, so I find it's pretty hard to find a match outside of certain missions or just quick match in general. Those are the only 2 places I can really find people online. Even in the lower ranking missions though, it was real annoying because you get a lot of smurfers or just like one-shot bosses and stuff, and I'm just in there like, why are you in the lower rank section? You can easily get quick matches with randoms, but I would recommend having dedicated people to play the game with if you can. So low-key music and sound is extremely important to me in games, and the music in this game definitely fits perfectly for the JRPG setting, but at the same time it doesn't really stand out to me as anything like crazy or like groundbreaking. Kind of the same way I feel about the music is the same way I feel about the story. It's good, but it still feels kind of generic and typical for a JRPG. Definitely like the songs. They're definitely great like of music, but it's like not memorable, if that makes sense. So like any typical anime game, there's like a lot, and I mean a lot of cringy, over-exaggerated callouts and dialogue. Like they just be yapping in this game. And that may be negative for most people, I imagine, but even so, it kind of grew on me. Like the thing is, there's a lot of unique dialogue between random crewmates. For instance, like if you put Catalina and Vayne on the same team, Catalina will offer to cook for the crew, and surprise, surprise, she's got the typical strong, independent woman who can't cook trope in every isekai you've ever seen. And then Vayne will be all like, bro, that's fine, but let me cook, right? All these characters have weird different interactions, and it's much needed in a video game where I don't know who is what or anything about these characters. So it kind of just gives them a bit of characterization. I don't know what else to write there. I was also playing as this like healer lolly thing. Don't judge me, all right? One of the best healers in the game. Anyway, I was playing her. Freaking Edward Elric. I was like, damn, I gotta play this character. Anyway, I thought she had like 2 different voice actors, and it was like a glitch. Anybody who plays the game knows what I mean, but like, yeah, I think the VAs do a really great job. I even ended up switching to English, which is crazy because I usually hate English, but I think the VAs did a really good job here, and it's like one of the main reasons I'm actually interested in learning about the characters. It's just yeah, I don't know much about the Granblue franchise or the story, but this helps to add to the characters. Gives the characters personality that is much needed because I don't know anything about these guys. You can do fake quests in the game. Well, you have to do these because they boost your stats, but fake quests are basically the story mode from JJK. You know how it's just a bunch of cutscenes and like text? Pretty much you do that to get a feel for the character and understand like their personality, which usually consists of them helping kids in the village. Yeah, it's pretty much always just them helping a kid in the village, and you can just understand their personality. Most of y'all will skip this. I tried to watch these because I wanted to just understand the franchise more, and it's alright. It's just more generic stuff. So like that's the storytelling in this game is like not bad, but not good. And I imagine most of you guys will skip these fake quests anyway. And there's a lot of lore in this game. You can find little lore bits throughout town and in different parts of the levels. You get a sense that this franchise is really huge in terms of world building, but I know 95% of people aren't interested in that. So I'll just say it's there for those who are, and I can't really judge lore. I don't know what good or bad lore is, but it seems all right. I don't know. So for controls, I don't know if I really have much to say here, as I found the controls very intuitive, simple to understand. Every time you pick up a new character, the game offers brief, quick tutorials on how they work. I found that extremely helpful and easy to follow. One issue I do have, which is just kind of natural with how different certain characters play, is I found it would make me bad with other characters. Like I'll pick Lancelot and just completely ignore the dodge button and press triangle. And then at one point when I pick other characters, I find myself pressing triangle to dodge when I should have just pressed the dodge button. Also, I kind of found the guard, block, and skill buttons to be kind of weird. I feel like that's a weird control scheme where they had that block is L1 and dodge is R2 and then your skill is R1. It kind of confused me at first, but I got that down pretty easily. If there's one thing, however, that I really want to complain about, it's the lock-on system. Even though I usually find complaining about camera controls is kind of like a pointless like thing, because a lot of people will complain about camera controls but don't really have any constructive criticism on how to fix it. But I can tell you the camera in this game is fucking terrible. I found myself scrambling, trying to figure out how to lock on, lock off, and shift from a mid target to like the main target in the middle of the fight. Just for my ultimate to go and hit the random mid target. Like maybe it's just me, maybe it's a skill issue, but I've never been more annoyed in the lock-on system in the video game for a while. Like, I feel like since the majority of this review has been super positive, I gotta like end off on like the negatives here. So I feel like because isekai fantasy genre is blowing up so crazy in the last few years, that makes the story feel like not special at all and generic. The gameplay loop of this game is super short and repetitive, which I don't consider a bad thing. Like, it's all about finding that gameplay loop that you like. This is a gameplay loop that I like, but if you're not really locked into this type of thing, you'll probably fall off eventually of it, because it's just like, you go in, kill monster, go in again, which I like that, but you might not. And because the combat by design is pretty simple, you might find yourself getting bored with a character pretty easily. And for that, I would definitely advise like to keep trying as much different characters as possible, because you'll find that one that really clicks and you'll be like, damn, I didn't know I could have this much fun with the character in this game. It never ceases to surprise you how much fun like certain characters are. So a big complaint that you might have, a lot of people complain that the game is kind of easy and casual compared to a lot of hack and slash games, which is true. I mean, the game can become pretty easy once you master the combat, but I will say the true challenge is in mastery and just getting good with different characters, and that's where the true fun is. Issue is though that like it's hard to find real challenge in the game. Like, you have crazy iframes, dodges, invincibility for like perfect dodging and iframing. When somebody dies, they can just res immediately with a res potion, and if they die again, then you have to res them, and everybody has mad potions. I got heals. It's like almost impossible to like fail a mission. For God's sakes, the lowest rating is a B. So yeah, game can feel kind of easy at times, surprisingly, like, but it's also really fun, which usually I conflate difficulty with fun. So it's kind of weird for me, because like, even though the game, you can be soaring through it, it's still pretty fun to it just feels very great to execute moves and ultimates in this game and skills and stuff, and the spectacle of it all. That's what it does it for me. And also, I haven't even reached endgame, so take my difficulty ratings with a grain of salt. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say about Granblue Fantasy. one of my favorite games right now. Between this and Helldivers 2, I've been going crazy. So yeah, let me know if I missed anything. Let me know what y'all think about the game. Let me know if y'all got it or getting it. Peace.